Hey, what's up? It's Mike Squires, and this is Couch's podcast number 131, or as some people say, 131. And my guest, Tucker Rule, most well known for being in the band Thursday. I have to admit, I don't know much about the post-punk, post-hardcore scene, but everyone that I've met from that scene is super cool, which, I'm just a fucking asshole. I don't know. I just assume that everyone's going to be a dick, maybe because I'm a dick. But I'm not a dick. I'm trying to not be a dick. Trying. Usually I do okay. But this fucking guy can play the shit out of the drums. And what I learned, he's self-taught. And Thursday's his first band. What the fuck? That's incredible. He's done a bunch of other stuff. We get into some of it. We can, in true Couchers form, this is pretty random. If you're a noob, you're in for, just buckle up. It's pretty, we trudge. Couchers is supposed to be kind of like if we met at a party, just without booze, or at a dinner party, maybe at a dinner party. Also happy to know that Tucker not drinking today. 4 years for me, no drinking. Not my first 4 years, but my most recent 4 years in a row, even. So if you're struggling with alcohol out there, you know what? There's a better way. Just remove it. It's fucking great. It really takes care of a lot of problems. Just vanishes them. Let's see what else. I mean, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I really, really enjoyed meeting Tucker. He's rad. And we've been talking about we've planned and sketched out a whole cover video. So look out for that. That's coming. If you enjoy the podcast, go support at Patreon, patreon.com/couchriffs. Don't ask me how I came up with that. There's a bunch of stuff over there. You can download the audio from all the cover songs we've done. That's the only place you can get it. And there's a bunch of exclusive merch stuff you can't get over there. I post things early there, surveys, I take your input for song suggestions, that kind of thing. And it really goes a long way to help make this happen. So thank you for everyone who's done that, who has been doing that from the beginning. And if you listen on Anchor, I'm bailing. I'm out of there. It was the last straw. I'm done. Fini. So Patreon is the spot to help out Couchers if you want to help. Thank you so much to River City Guitars. You know who River City Guitars is? They're my bros, my buddies, my pals in Spokane, Washington. It's a really, really rad little guitar store in Spokane. But you don't have to live in Spokane. Of course, you have the internet, right? You're listening to this. RiverCityGuitars.com. They specialize in vintage, used, and generally cool shit. Boutique-y stuff. And they are always buying. They are always buying, right? The inventory. It's a mark of being able to stay in business, to have something to sell. If you have something that you want to move, sitting around, instruments need to be played. Don't let it collect dust. You want some Christmas money? You want some bills money? Give them a call, 509-818-7693. Ask for my boy Bobby. That's my guy over there. Or drop him an email with some pictures of what you're trying to sell. sales.rivercityguitars@gmail. And this is anything. This could be, I don't know, maybe you have a Nocaster, an original Nocaster. What the fuck do I know? Maybe you have one of those. Maybe you have a 59 Burst you want to sell. What do I know? They're interested. And they're great guys. Don't forget the golden rule, okay? Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's not that fucking hard. And just don't be a dick.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yes, there you are. Yeah, man. How you doing?
How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. Did you get all your shit yesterday?
I didn't.
No.
No, so it's like I'm in limbo.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
You get
but
some
you know
fresh
what?
tracking?
It's not like I know how to use it yet anyway. So,
Dude, I've had my stuff for I don't even know how many years, and I I don't know how to use shit. I mean, that's why that was you sent that text. All right, I'm in. I'm like pushing the buttons. Like half the time I forget. Don't ever anybody listening never hire me to make a record for you. So I'll fuck the whole thing up.
don't say you're being too hard on yourself. Don't say that.
That's only because you haven't talked to me for very long.
Touche.
So you're pretty stoked though. You got a bunch of stuff coming.
I do, yeah. I'm stoked, and I'm looking forward to diving down. I mean, you're an East Coaster as well, so
I am now.
Snow, this Arctic weather that's about to hit us is going to leave us in the house. So I might as well figure out a new craft.
You're a lifer. You're from here.
Yes.
See,
yeah. Unfortunately.
Well, I mean. Believe me, there are worse places to be from.
For sure.
I grew up in a tiny little logging town, and ironically, like I got out of there as quick as I could, but now I'm in a little tiny town again, and quickly remembering all the reasons why I wanted to get out. But I love it up here. It's nice and quiet, whatever.
Yeah.
You're in Jersey?
I'm in Jersey, but I've lived in Brooklyn for the past 10 or 11 years. And, so we bought a house and moved back. So it's kind of like slow, but I'm into it because there's nothing to do anyway because we're in a pandemic. But, we literally moved into our house March 4th. So
you just got out there.
Just got out. Yeah.
Where do you have your drums? Do you have your drums set up somewhere at your house?
Yeah, I have a detached garage that I have.
Oh, that's killer.
Yeah, I built a room within a room, so it's nice and isolated. I can play whenever I want. So it's a blessing. And I also, behind the garage is like a parking lot as well for New Jersey Transit commuters. So it's not there's no one behind me.
Right. And if there is, like, hey, guess what? You're only going to be there for a few minutes.
Exactly. That's why, I was so worried when I moved in that, there was like a hole where the squirrels came in and out. And I was like, oh, they won't be here very long. No one likes the sound of drums.
Dude, I just busted out. I got this ceramic Christmas tree that I inherited from my mom, right, when she passed. And every year I bust it out. And it's just this funny little thing. It's old. It's just like ceramic. You plug these plastic lights in and it sits on top of a pedestal with a light bulb in it, right? Sits in this box. I put it out in my shed every year. And this year, chipmunks got in there and I busted it out. And when I opened the box up, like maybe they're mice. I don't know what they are. They're critters. Two of them jumped out. It scared the shit out of me. But then the second thing came, and that was just the waft of stink. Like,
yeah, you
don't want critters.
No,
You lived in Brooklyn for a while, though. Like, critters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those critters are more rats and water bugs, which are a whole different critter all in itself. Like we had not to jump off a tangent real fast, but we had a water bug problem in our apartment building, and I called the exterminator, and this guy has like a rat embroidered on his shirt, and he comes in, he's like, what do you got? I'm like, water bugs. He's like, oh, I hate those. I'm like, dude, that's like what you do. And you live in you're servicing an area that is known for rats and like water bugs. So it's like,
where were you at in Brooklyn?
Greenpoint.
Yeah. I don't know. What is a water bug? That's not a roach.
It's not apparently roaches and water bugs are different things. I didn't know that. I just assumed it's a roach, but they're like this big and they look nearly the same, and they're just so fast and they're just disgusting and they want nothing to do with you, but they're just like it's just a symbol of dirt and
Right.
filth to me.
Nasty. It's
Yeah.
nasty.
You know, and I may not wash my jeans, but like I do shower and I do try to keep myself and my surroundings clean. You know what I mean? So
When did you learn, like, this is the thing. I don't wash my jeans either, but my wife, she'll try something on, put it on the ground if she doesn't wear it, and then it gets washed, right?
yeah.
I'll wear a pair of jeans for, I don't know, like after you go on tour a couple times and you're like, well, fuck, it's hard to wash your shit. I'll wear a pair of jeans for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and not even consider washing them.
Oh man, I go longer than that.
Really good for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's that like I follow like a bunch of these denim heads, you know, on the Instagram or Instabook or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and you know, it's like they pride themselves in like, you know, oh, this is 1 year straight of wearing them every day, you know, like this is how the lines look and the wallet mark that's in the back, you know, so
It's like
I dig
it's
it.
like relicking for jeans.
Exactly. Yeah.
Real
yeah.
time relicking. Except that most of them are not drummers. And drummers, they
No.
got it sweaty asses, man.
Yeah, I swap out. Like even if I'm going into my garage, I put on like some sort of weird like Adidas track pants or something because I don't want them to actually smell, you know. So I kind of I choose my own adventure with them.
That's a good call. I think.
Yeah.
That's probably that's the forethinking of a touring fella.
Yeah,
What about on,
exactly.
what about on tour?
On tour, I mean, I usually will wake up and, you know, find a gym somewhere. So I'm already in my gym clothes. Then I go to sound check in said gym clothes. Then I change into my streetwear. and then I have a whole separate show clothes type of situation.
Right. I did do one tour. I've quit a few times. Sometimes I get frustrated and I'm like, this is not the life for me. And I quit. And then, it doesn't take very long for me to come sniffing back around. Right.
Right.
But on one particular tour, which was to be the last tour of mine for a few years, I've never seen another one. I had a tie-dyed sleeveless Motley Crue shirt.
Oh,
and
okay.
a pair of sweatpants that I bought at Walmart. And that's all I wore in the van. And then I had a pair of white jeans and a black t-shirt. I mean, my entire tour kit was like this was 2003. So it was like a CD book and those clothes, and some underwears and socks. That's it. Toothbrush.
Yeah.
That doesn't take up space. But that was some funky clothes by the end. I was really funky.
Yeah. But that's
think
the thing about touring. You learn how to pack. You know what I mean? You learn how to pack really light. You know, it's like the first tour you go on after a little while, you pack everything you have. And you're like, why did I do this?
Right.
I've only worn 4 things.
Like, I'm going to need this. I'm going to need that. Oh, I love this CD.
Yeah. And you're like, I don't need any of this. I don't have time for any of this shit.
How happy were you when you got your first iPod, though?
Oh, my God, dude. It was like that CD book that was always at the foot of the van, that would like always be precariously placed where you would either step on it or would almost fall out of the van.
You mean 4 or 5 CD books?
Oh yes, 4 or 5. Yeah, that's it. I'm just talking about that front seat one that's just like right there in the way.
Always getting scratched and fucked up.
Yeah. Always next to the inverter that's like too hot, and then you're worried about the CDs like burning and melting and scratching and all that.
Do people still do that? I mean, I guess people are touring with like gaming systems and stuff now. I don't even know. I don't know what the kids do anymore.
Me neither.
Well, no, I mean, no one's had the problem of uncomfortable touring this year.
No.
Now, I was in 2003. Perhaps it was 2 or 3. I was still drinking, so my memory is not great around this period of time. And it was that tour or leading up to that tour. But I think that I saw you play at South by Southwest. Did you play in 2002 or 3?
Yes.
Maybe at Emo's?
Yes, it was early on, yes. I do remember playing the South by Southwest, and I believe it was at Emo's.
With Pretty Girls?
I'm not 100. Yes, with Pretty Girls Make Graves.
Yes. God, it always feels like a triumph when I remember something correctly. I feel like...
Dude, I know what you mean, because I'm like, I can see it in my head, and I can see the venue, but it doesn't look like Emo's for some reason. It looks like something else, but I know it was Emo's.
Right. I don't know much about. I know Pretty Girls because they're from Seattle, and I know Derek from the Devils.
Yeah,
and I knew him, like, I think I saw like their second or third show when he was still working the mop over there at the Lusty Lady, and and then I know that there's a band. Oh, what the hell are they called? Red. They're my friends. Jesus fucking Christ, Vendetta Red.
Vendetta Red.
I don't know if of course you know Derek's band, but I don't know if you know those other guys. I don't know much else about the scene that all you guys sort of like revolved around because I was drinking a lot, and then I fucking quit playing music and went dug holes or whatever I could do to just escape.
Yeah, I hear you.
But you guys fucking did it for real.
Yeah, yes, it was wild because we literally started a band. My singer Jeff put on these basement shows in his college house in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And he'd have anybody from At the Drive-In, Saves the Day, Hot Water Music, all touring bands somehow stopped through and played his basement. And it was like, it held maybe 60 people. And with a can of food, you got in for $5. You know what I mean? Sort of deal.
And he would take that and give it to the food bank, or that would go to the house?
That would go to the house, or that would go to, I don't even know, to be honest with you. Right. But so my best friend and I went to high school together, and he ended up going off to college at Rutgers, met my singer who put on these shows, and was like, yeah, I want to put together a band to play in my basement. So we just like kind of put together this band to play in the basement, and people started liking it. So it was really not a planned thing to go any further than that.
And was that your first band?
Yes.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, and I had been playing drums for maybe a year before we started the band.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane. You realize that, right?
I mean, that's why it's thinking about it and talking to people about this, it always kind of, makes me think like this was never supposed to happen. Like I grew up going to shows and stuff, but I was more into, like, when I was younger, playing football and baseball, and then I got into skateboarding, and I was more into that, and going to shows and listening to music was like my thing. I never really wanted to play it.
Did it seem like a natural thing for you when you decided to play music, to play drums, because you had an athletic and physical sort of side of you?
I think I always put it like this. I mean, there's two ways that I look at it. Like, skateboarding was a very, a thing. It's just you and the board, so it's a very singular thing, and
Sure.
then sports was a team. So it's like, you got your singular thing, which is like practicing your instrument. And then you have your team, which is like playing in a band. So I learned how to do both things, like be in a group of people and then be by myself.
Right.
But then I feel like actually playing sports and knowing how to kind of move my body in whatever pathetic way I could when I was that young, like, I think it definitely helped with like the coordination of a transition into playing drums.
And so you had been playing for a year before the band got together. Was it just like, was it fully formed? At what point did you come into the picture?
It was, myself, my best friend Tom, and Jeff started the band.
Yeah.
So it was like really from the jump. It was like on the first demo and the first record we put out, that was every single beat and variation of those beats that I knew how to play.
What kind of work and time did you put in that first year before you Had you played with other people like for fun? Like, oh, I learned a song. Come over with your guitar, or were you just bashing it out to records?
I honestly, I would go to shows and I would see what the drummer was doing, and then I would come home, and for the next couple days, I would listen to the records and then remember what I saw and do that to make that sound.
That's
And then
ridiculous.
and with drums and even with guitar and with anything, it's once you start going down the rabbit hole, it gets very fulfilling, when you crack a new barrier,
Yeah.
and break a new ceiling, and it's like, and especially in that first, couple months or year of playing drums, you're learning every single day. So it's very, as frustrating it is, it's also gratifying,
Right.
because even though you're taking two steps back, sometimes the leap forward is always like, oh my God, I just opened up the world to a whole different
Right.
rhythm,
So once you guys got in a room together, how quickly were you songs coming together?
Um, man, some of
And
them were
and how
kinda
hard
quick.
was it for you to, compose a drum part, at your first time in a band situation? Because it seemed like I would have been super intimidated as a 1 year player, but
I mean, I think kind of all of us were very green to it as well. You know what I mean? Like, guitar player Tom, he could play like some Nirvana riffs. You know what I mean? He was also self-taught. It wasn't like, we had some virtuoso come into the band right away and be like, that's how you play this, that's how you do this, that's how you do this. It was just kind of like fumbling together a little bit. And then,
right,
I mean, for me personally, writing to music, I always wrote to the riff. So if the riff was angular, I was trying to play something angular to that. You know what I mean? It was never like trying to write an AC/DC song on drums.
right.
It was like, what beats do I know that are very complicated that I can throw at this riff?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Uh, do you know who Steve Gorman is? He's a drummer.
I know the name.
He's the drummer from the Black Crowes. I think
Oh, yes,
he's
okay.
got like sports radio show now.
Okay.
He never owned a drum kit before he joined the Black Crowes and never played, which like blew my mind. That was the first time I've heard that story. And so now every time I hear that's, someone's first band, I was in fucking 15 bands before I ever even went on tour. And so when I hear stories about people whose first bands, do it, I'm always so stoked and impressed.
It's one of those things where it's like, again, I definitely feel lucky because I definitely feel like I found, something that I'm okay at, that I enjoy doing. So it's like a passion, but also kind of a job. But it's definitely made me a lifer. Like I will go kicking and screaming until I can't play anymore.
Sure.
Like
that's
if
how it should be.
I will do whatever it takes to make the dollars keep flowing in what I'm doing.
Right.
Because there's a lot of times where they're not flowing at all.
Here. Here. I watched the Frank Zappa movie, the new Frank Zappa movie last night. I don't know if you're a fan. I know he's definitely not for everyone.
I'm definitely a fan, but I have not watched the movie.
It's incredible. The guy that is not Keanu Reeves from Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted.
Winters,
Okay.
the Winter. I don't remember his first name. Winters, I think, is his last name. He made this movie, and it's incredible. And his story is, and I've read his autobiography and seen a bunch of other docs, and this one was still really great. The stand that he took against anyone who tried to get in his way of doing what he wanted was incredible. And he was really one of the very first people to start an independent label, artist wise. Like he was like, well, fuck you guys. I'm going to do my own label. I'll just do my own thing. But you guys had some label issues. You might be able to relate to that.
That side of the world, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I sit on the other, like I don't know how people start labels. I don't know how people deal with the business side of it. Like,
It's because
it's
business
shocking.
sucks.
Yeah, it's shocking how terrible some of, especially back then, how bands are treated, and it's insane.
Well, let's not kid ourselves. Like, I mean, if you don't have your head on straight, you could be treated that horribly now as well.
Oh, of course, 100%.
It's fucking 360 deals where, yeah. If anyone's listening, they
even
know
if you do, even if you do have your head on straight, I still think there's things that you're gonna get fucked on, no matter what.
He kind of said it's best. He was just like, back then, and still to a certain degree, like I'm a kid of the 90s, and I think I didn't want to know anything about business, and money was like, well, I've never had it, so what the fuck do I care? Like, I mean, I have my lunch set up for today, and that's great.
Yeah.
I have some instruments that I can play and a band, and we have a room, and I don't need anything else. But he was into the business straight away. You still are like, nah.
I can't even, it's just not in my realm of brain possibilities.
Do you have someone that manages you?
Yeah, I do. This gentleman named Paul Clegg.
Oh yeah, good.
You might know him. He's fucking amazing, and he's Irish, and I understand every fourth or fifth word.
Yeah, good.
And that's usually like fuck, or like fucking. So I dig it.
I did see that you were on Sound Better. It's the service, where
yes.
soundbetter.com
yes.
to get hired out for recording gigs and whatnot.
Yes.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That service is killer.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Especially for drummers. And now that you've got some like recording gear coming.
Well, dude, it's funny because like I really like doing this, cover stuff with other people. But I have this 1-track recorder, this thing called a Yamaha EAD10. It's amazing for like demos and such. But like when it comes down to actually sending someone something to work with, sending one channel just wasn't working. Everyone's like, oh, can you record it for real? And I was like, well, and the whole entire pandemic, I've been toying with the fact of getting recording gear.
Yeah.
But I haven't because, I just bought a house. I'm a new father, and I don't know when the money's going to come in again. But then again, like not buying this stuff and not, going down that rabbit hole of trying to, record some music at home. That's not going to not doing that is going to not make me money as well. So I might as well jump in. So it's taken me 8 months, but I'm there.
I mean, we've also been on trend and heading in that direction for years. And, 2020 just sort of like gave it a little push over the edge, right? Like, you're going to stay home and do what you do here for a while. Why don't you think about what you've done?
Yeah, exactly. Because my wife was a big proponent of moving out of Brooklyn. I liked it there. I had a lot of friends, and I had my situation, that was good there. But she was like, well, I want to move out. We're about to have a baby. I was like, well, listen, when we're looking at houses, I just need a detached garage. Like I don't care what the house looks like. I don't care if there's another family that lives there and we have to share it. Like, as long as there is a garage that I can, make noise in. So that was the whole impetus for like me being cool with moving out. So I feel like I have this space. I built a room in it. I got to use it.
That's great. You guys had a daughter?
Yes.
In March?
In March.
Were you, let's back up. In March, we didn't know really what was going on. It was like, is this for real? I remember kind of making jokes about it in December. I went to NAMM in January. Everyone was like, ha, 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 bird flu or whatever. And then fuck, 6 weeks later, it wasn't as funny.
No.
And you guys are going to doctor's appointments. I'm assuming you're doing the whole thing. You must have had a whole elevated set of things to worry about.
Well, yeah, dude. It's like, first of all, obviously, when this whole plan of having a baby started, we didn't know that this was going to come. Obviously,
sure.
There's no way of telling the future with that. And then, I was in Japan in December on tour, and I felt terrible. Like I haven't been that sick in, I don't even know how long. Like I went to sound check, and the hotel was a 5-minute walk from the venue, and I just decided to stay in this venue and sleep on this couch. I was just so sick. So I'm convinced that I possibly had it when I was in Japan, because I was in Europe prior to that, and I believe that's where some cases started. Some places in Europe, I don't know, but and I was in Japan about 10 days later. And then I came home, and the day that I came home, we looked at this house. Like literally I got home Sunday night, and then Monday morning we went and looked at this house, and we decided to take it. But when this, going to see doctors and stuff was always like a real weird thing, because it's like, well, we got to be super careful. Then we were at like 30 whatever weeks, like the final, push before the baby came out, and the doctor calls us and was like, hey, just so you know, I'm calling everybody who was in the office on this date, but you were exposed to someone in the office who had coronavirus, and we can't say who. So we didn't know if it was a patient, if it was a doctor, if it was a nurse.
Right.
But basically he's like, you're at day like this. I'm calling you at day 12. He's like, by day 14, if you don't feel bad, you probably don't have anything, but just so you know. So we were like, holy shit, this is so close to home right now. This is insane. So that was definitely like.
Did you guys build like a John Travolta bubble in the living room where your wife kicked it for the last couple of weeks, and you were just
Pretty
like,
much.
all right, slip some oatmeal into the the slot for her?
Put your gloves, hands in the gloves that go through the holes. Pet her head.
Hug her through the glove. Plastic.
Yeah.
But everything worked out.
Everything worked out. Yeah, we didn't give birth in a hospital. We ended up changing our birthing plan to this birthing center where there was like only one other person in this place with us, so it was really safe. And they sent us home like 3 hours after we had the child. So I'm driving basically a 3.5 hour newborn in a car at 80 miles an hour down a highway. It was absolutely terrifying.
Except there were only like 8 cars on the road, that makes it better.
Exactly.
That's insane, man. I can't imagine. I'm glad everything went smoothly.
Thank you.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But you also moved then.
Yeah.
Like you must have moved within weeks of birth.
We moved in March 4th, and my daughter was born on the 27th. So basically all of March, when the pandemics, we found out about, everything, I guess, around the 12th of March. It's like, everybody's got to stay home, this and that. So, luckily we got all the painting supplies and all the stuff we needed to, put the house back together. Not that it was in shambles to begin with. It was a pretty good house, but there was a bunch of things that needed cleaning and painting and all the stuff we needed to make the baby's room. So luckily it was like, I didn't really feel the pandemic at first because I can't leave the house because I have a newborn.
Right.
And I'm fixing the house up anyway, so that's kind of like just nesting.
That's down to the wire, though.
Getting
to the everything.
Wire. Absolutely.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What floor were you on up there in your apartment in Brooklyn?
We were on the second floor.
Oh, that's not too bad.
It wasn't bad, and we had like wide staircases. So originally we were like, all right, we can do this. Like we're never gonna find a house. That's crazy. Finding a house is just insane. Especially with prices in New Jersey and property taxes and all that. But we were like, we can do it. We can do it in this apartment. We had a decent apartment. We were there for 10 years. It had 2 floors and 2 bathrooms, so it was a nice apartment. Rad. So we got into Greenpoint at a time where like things were still relatively cheap because it wasn't quite Williamsburg.
Right.
So we were like, we can do this. We don't want to, but we could do this. But now, I mean, I have a bunch of friends that raise kids in the city and in Brooklyn, and they seem to have a fine time with it. But you know, the way I am, I don't think I would have been good with raising a kid in the city.
Greenpoint is all strollers now, right?
It's a bunch of strollers, but like, I mean, the amount of laundry that I do is insane, and I can't imagine having to go to the laundromat every
imagine
fucking
that
day.
bill. Fuck all that,
dude, and all the characters that are in there that are probably, you know,
who knows what.
You know, I'm like, I have clean baby clothes with me, and they're like,
you're like worried about bringing
everywhere.
bed bugs back. You're like,
exactly.
fuck Corona, like whatever. These bed bugs have Corona.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the things when moving to Brooklyn that fucked me up was like, all of a sudden I'm spending, you know, half a car payment on laundry a month. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's insane. It's my wife's favorite thing now that we have a house up here. We still have a little tiny apartment, rent controlled thing in Brooklyn because my wife she works down there, right? So we got to have a place. Definitely. It's not ideal, but it's, you know, it's cheaper for us to have that little place and this house than it was to have our apartment in Carroll Gardens. It's less money, dude.
That's crazy.
No,
that's crazy.
It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Well, to that, we pay pretty much the same in mortgage and utilities as we did for rent and utilities. So it's kind of like a.
But you're buying something.
And I have a yard.
It's great.
And a fucking drum room.
That's right. Did you have your drums? Did you use a practice space in Brooklyn? Or did you go to an hourly? Oh, you did?
No, yeah. I tried the hourly early on and living there, and I just hated it because it's so hard to be creative when you're booking time. Right.
Where were you at? What?
So there was this rehearsal room off McGinnis in Greenpoint that was brand new actually. Are you familiar with the Gutter actually in Williamsburg, Greenpoint? It's a bowling alley.
Yeah. So over there by the motorcycle shop?
Yeah, right next to the motorcycle shop. I used to have a rehearsal space in there for many years, and then I moved to this new one on McGinnis, and you know it was great. And I would literally go in there every single day, and you know my regimen was I would wake up, I would make my coffee, I'd walk to the gym, then I'd go play drums, and then by that time it was like 3:00. So it was like all day. It just sitting in people think that being a musician is all this glamour, but it's literally just like sometimes just you locked in a really dark room with really terrible smelling carpeting.
And that's the fun part right before the show.
Yeah, exactly.
So you work out every day? I
mean, when I was living in Brooklyn, it was 5 days a week. I would take the weekends off because, you know, the wife wasn't working. So I would just be like, all right, whatever we want to do together, we'll do together. I don't want to put working out in the way of that.
Right. Was that something that you always did from your sort of athletic teen years moving forward? No. Or is that something as you got older, you were like, if I'm going to be a lifer drummer, I need to keep myself on top of my game?
Well, I quit drinking 3 years ago.
Good for you.
And I, you know, I was never like, I never considered myself overweight, but I definitely had like the bloat that you do when you don't take care of yourself. You know what I mean? So once I stopped drinking, you know, and like, I'm not very tall. I'm like 5'8". So 10 pounds, I lost 10 pounds in like the first 6 months of not drinking. And I was like, holy shit.
Right.
Like the difference of 10 pounds is like insane on my, you know, small man frame. So that just kind of propelled me to, and you know, 3 years ago, I was turning 40. So I was like, I want to, you know, be in shape for my 40th birthday and I want to be healthy. So that was kind of the impetus. And then like, now I feel guilty when I don't do it. It sucks.
Right. And so did you quit drinking, just because you knew it was a healthy thing to do, or?
No, I think that, you know, where I lived and, you know, the friends I had great friends, and I still have those friends. It's just, you know, a lot of them own bars and a lot of them worked in music. So they had the same schedule as I did, where it was like, and the same schedule you probably had too. It's like,
Sure.
You work at night, you know, and then when you're off tour, you're off tour, you know, and you kind of like fumble around and do odds and ends things, you know, to make a little bit money here and there. But I literally, my schedule was between the hours of 8 p.m. and 4 or 5, 6 in the morning.
Right.
And my wife has a normal job. She's a personal assistant, an executive assistant. So, you know, she would be getting up to go to work at 7:30, and, you know, I would be getting home at 6:30, waking her up, you know, being loud, you know, like it just was not conducive to being a grown person in a relationship.
Here. Yeah. It's funny. I moved to Brooklyn. I was already not drinking. I moved to Brooklyn, got married and moved to Brooklyn. It was a little bit kind of old fashioned, actually. And, my wife and I had never lived together really more than, you know, dating and living under the same roof for a month or something. But I was in Brooklyn for maybe a year, and I was like, oh man, I'm happy. Everything's great. I could probably drink, and fuck, within 3 months, it was back to my old shit.
Yeah.
And so tomorrow, actually, Tuesday, yesterday, the day before this will come out, will be 4 years again for me. I had,
wow,
I think I had 5 before that. So
amazing.
Keep it up. Just like, everything is better, I think, without that crutch.
100%. And for me, it was, you know, and, you know, not to say that the way I did it is different or better or worse than anybody else, but I never woke up and was like, oh, I need a drink. You know, it was always like, you know, I would start drinking at 5, then it was 4, you know, then it was 3, and then it wouldn't stop, because like, to me, drinking was fun, and like being out with my friends and all of us just drinking until we're wasted was what I thought was fun.
Sure.
You know, and then the next day you're just like a pile of shit. And same with tour. Like I, you know, drums being such a physical thing for me, I couldn't have a drink and play the drums. Like I felt like I was.
Could you imagine drinking a 6-pack and running 3 miles? Because that's what playing a fucking show behind the kid is like.
Yeah, but my entire career, ever since I started, I never had a drink before I played.
Is that right?
And that's not to say that I wouldn't have a few sips of a beer and bring it on stage with me, and it would fall over, you know, 30 seconds into the show. But I always made the rule that I never drank before a show, because it didn't make me play well. I felt like I would lose a little bit of the edge. So I would get done with the show, and as soon as I would get off stage, I would be handed a beer, and then I would be playing catch up. And then all of a sudden it's 4:00 in the morning and I'm the only one awake in the bus.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because my night was like starting.
Right.
You know
That's interesting. You never had to have that moment where you had that first nerves shredding apart show where you were sober, because you had been playing relatively sober forever.
Forever, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think being a drummer helps, because it's like you're getting into like your living room, you know what I mean? Like you're sitting down, you're behind shit, you know, you're just banging away at stuff, you know what I mean? It's like I always felt like, you know, it's got to be hard to be a singer or guitar player, to be up there, you know what I mean? Like worried about like, oh my God, you know, are my pants ripped? Does this shirt make me look fat? You know, like
are my balls falling out of the hole in my yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
you don't even have to wear pants behind the kit.
Exactly. It doesn't even matter.
You could Tommy Lee it.
Totally. And I have.
You've played with a Speedo?
Not a Speedo, but I definitely have done the spandex thing and the short shorts and the whole 9.
The full spandex pants?
Never
or
full
bike
spandex
shorts
pants, but the bike shorts.
Really?
Yeah.
How's that?
I mean, it's what you think it would be.
You
It's
just
not
you
very.
walked out and you were like, "Hey everyone, look at me in my bike shorts."
It's a good idea until like you have to get up again, and then you're like, "Fuck, I'm still wearing these."
Or until someone snaps a picture, you're like, "This is great." But I mean, 2002, everyone didn't have a camera in the audience, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you can't walk to the bus stop without if someone
No.
seeing someone taking a picture of something.
No. Exactly.
So when I was looking at your bio, it says that you play with a British boy band. Is that true?
I did.
Is that
Yeah,
who
I
you were
did.
in Japan with?
No, no, I was in Japan with Thursday.
Oh,
This recent year, the British boy band I played was called The Wanted, and they were five dudes from the UK. Great people. They disbanded, I guess, in 2014, I believe.
yeah.
So I basically I'm the years are foggy to me, but I think I did 2011 to 2014 with them.
And going from being in a band that's your band, and I'm assuming that you guys operate at least relatively democratically. Um, did you find relief in going and playing with some folks where it's like, learn the songs, you don't have to fucking worry about making any decisions? There's no like, oh, let's get some yellow films up there on the light. Like, you got nothing, no t-shirt design.
Nothing,
You don't have to
dude.
go sign shit.
You pretty much said exactly the answer that I would give. Like it was great to just show up and do your job. Because it didn't matter how many people were in the audience, how many tickets were sold. It didn't matter if the black t-shirt sold better than the white t-shirt. It didn't matter. You don't have to do the meet and greet. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It's just like, hey, go play your fucking drums and then shut up.
So
And I
great.
just thought that was great. And it was like an actual job. It was something I got paid Monday through Sunday to do as a musician, not just like a dude that's in a band.
Right.
You know what I mean? So not that there's anything wrong with that, because I am a dude that's in a band, but for that
Course.
particular occasion, I was a hired musician. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, there are great things about both of those scenarios, right?
yes,
Being a creative control person is super gratifying, but not very relaxing, right?
no,
Because there's a lot of dynamic inner band dynamic where everyone's jockeying to have their feelings nurtured, because whether any of us want to believe it or not, everyone's pretty sensitive about making sure they're expressing themselves, right?
yes. And music is not a gentle lover. You know
No,
what I mean? So it's like
it is a fickle
it's
mistress.
so yeah, exactly. So you're in this band, and then you're like, man, like you're just waiting for the news that it's not going well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're waiting for the trajectory to start, plummeting. It doesn't gradually go. It fucking plummets.
Right.
So when you're a working musician, it's just like, well, I've got this on my resume. So if that plummets, like I know more people now. So hopefully I can get hired again for something else.
Right. Uh, you guys, I just read yesterday. You guys fucking charted pretty high on the charts. True. You guys
Yes,
hit
true.
like was it 7?
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that complete? And that was before downloads really took off and thrashed record sales. So,
Yes.
which was a completely different, recording industry environment. And I think very hard. It was a huge achievement. What did that feel
Yeah.
like?
Dude, it was mind-boggling because again, getting back to what we spoke about earlier, like didn't even expect it to get, to have a record label to begin with. And then fast forward to that point, we are on Island Def Jam, which is a rad label with rad people. And we put out this record, and, It was during the time where it was just the people just stopped making money selling records, like right as we put that record out.
Right.
And download hadn't happened yet. So we didn't really make a shit ton of money, but at the same time, it's like people still bought the record, so we could actually chart, which was awesome. But then just after that, it was just like, you know,
right.
That's when their record industry kind of steered its ugly, gentle, non-gentle, loving head, you know.
What a world.
Yeah.
You know, just when you think that the playing field is going to be leveled, someone buys the property that the playing field is on.
Exactly, and they bulldoze it. They don't just like put a nicer thing there. They just bulldoze it.
Right.
And also to that fact, like, I forget what I was going to say. Damn, it was good too. Shit.
The playing field.
The playing field right before
selling
that.
records, physical versus digital.
Shit.
Selling records, not making money, people fucking smacking you around your whole fucking life because Jesus Christ, you're a piece of shit musician.
yeah. But you think that things are only going to get better. You know, you're like, oh, we fucking charted number 7. This is sick. Like,
next record,
I'm earning a decent wage. Like, things are going up. Like, I'm a fucking 1%er now. You know what I mean? Like, things are going up. You know what I mean? Like, you know, people are saying, like, during that time, it was like The Used was the next fucking Motley Crue. Thrice was the next Guns N' Roses. And Thursday was the next, I don't know, you know, whatever band maybe it was Aerosmith or something. I don't remember what they were saying, but it was like, these are the next fucking things. And we were like, holy shit. You know, like.
They said it. It must be true.
Yeah, if anybody needs to borrow money, you can ask me because I've got it. You know what I mean? And I'm going to have it. Don't worry. You know, but it's like, that's just, I think we all, not that we were like money hungry because that wasn't it at all, but you just think that your career is going up, you know what I mean? But really It's just, you just never fucking know with the music industry.
Did things get funny at family reunion?
They did, because there was a lot of people that still are like, oh, you know, you're in a band, like you play local shows, you know. I still get that, you know what I mean? Like, and even some of the stuff I've, you know, accomplished in my career, you know, like I know some family members, they're all great people and they all are proud of me, but like, oh wow, it's like you're really doing it, you're really still doing it. I'm like, yeah. I was like, you can tune into, you know, Late Night Seth Meyers and you can see me playing drums there for a week if that's any
right.
If that's good enough for you, you know what I mean? Like,
they're like, oh, you're still doing that cute drumming thing.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You're still doing that, huh?
Yeah. Somebody has to.
Right. Yeah, we can't all quit.
It's not gonna fuck itself. You know what I mean?
That's true. There's a very funny vibe out here in the country because people find out that I was in a band and then they'll Google me and they'll be like, oh, like I have a neighbor that lives across the street and they're like, well, you got money. Like, why don't you just this or that? I'm like, what are you kidding? Like like an outbuilding, making a studio here cost me $80,000. Well, you got money. Well, fuck you, man. Like, you want to loan me $80,000? I don't have $80,000. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah. I saw you on the TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But even family, like people think, well, you did that thing. You played that big show. You must be a millionaire. Like, yeah, sure. You play download or whatever. Great. Like, that money was spent before you got there on flights
Absolutely.
And whatever. You know?
You played that show to cover
all the costs
rest of the money,
so that you could play the $500 gigs in Belgium.
Dude, it's funny that you say that because with that boy band, we actually played Madison Square Garden twice. Once with Justin Bieber and once for Jingle Bell Ball or whatever. We call it Jingle Bell Ball Bag. But both times, me and the musicians who were friends that I actually got hired for the gig, the bass player and the guitar player, we both played the show in Madison Square Garden and then took our whatever gear, gig bags, and like just
took the subway
slowly
home.
walked to the subway and then took the train home. You know what I mean? But it's that same thing. Like, you played that big show, you know, it's like, well, I just like had to borrow a Metro card to get on the fucking subway so I could go home. It's not like I'm getting a car to come pick me up. You know what I mean? Like,
did Thursday ever play the Garden?
Never.
But you played with these guys, and they opened for Bieber.
With those guys. Yeah, for Bieber. It was us, Carly Rae Jepsen, and Bieber.
What a crazy other world to jump into.
Yeah, totally wild.
Are there a lot of metal players that end up going over to, and like hard, like heavy rock players that go into that world?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think there's more than we actually even think. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I know I'll see some friends and it's like, oh my God, you're like on stage with Seal?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's wild.
And so I have to imagine, maybe I'm making some assumptions, but you were probably on ears. You had a click. Everything was to a grid. It was, yeah.
Yeah. We had our keyboard player he had been, you know, with the band from the early days. He was the music director. And so he had everything dialed and, you know, it was literally just press play and then like just stay to the grid and, you know, just do your goddamn job.
Did you ever play to a click in Thursday? Did you ever have that kind of a situation?
I have. We did one record where I did the entire record without any music. You know, we played the songs together in rehearsal, but then when it came down to recording, we wanted to try something different. So I literally just like sat behind a kit and just like they started the click and I would just play, and that was wild. I actually enjoyed that because there was no noise, you know, no pushing and pulling, which actually you kind of miss that push and pull. But the first time that I had ever done it to a click live was I filled in for My Chemical Romance in 2007, and I flew to Australia and we did one rehearsal, and I was like, okay, like this is going to be fine. And you know, the next day it's an evening with too. It's like this massive
long
arena
show.
Yeah, and so you know, it's like, oh, I showed the sound check. I'm like, what's the computer for? It's like, oh, this show is tempo mapped. Did no one tell you? So not only is it to a grid, but it's also mapped.
Right. So it's
like
not
the speed ups and the slow downs are built into the grid, and so and which means that like the count-ins were different. So you know, this song has a 1, 2, 3, 4,
right,
but some of them are just like you just can click in yourself. So I had to like write a chart on my set list. Like this song has an 8-bar count in, this song has a 4. You know, it's like, and then it went off, thankfully, but that was my first time doing it, and I didn't know I was doing it. So maybe that was a blessing in disguise.
It's good that you had the forethought to make notes on the set list.
Dude, it's like crazy because isn't that the hard part of when you're learning songs? It's not the body of the song. It's like, how's it start and how's it end?
Right. But also,
you know what
I mean? With those Vendetta Red guys, I played in a karaoke band, and there was like a 500 song set list. My poor listeners have had to hear me tell this story a lot, but it was fucking nerve-wracking because I thought that I had to learn all the songs, and I didn't. Really, 50 songs got picked, and occasionally someone would pick, you know, Brandy or A Fine Girl or whatever, some oddball song or some shit you've never even heard of. You just see the key. You know, there was some keyboard track, and there'd be cues and a click. But those things were tempo mapped also. Also, I made some really terrible backing tracks. Those poor fuckers. I wonder if they still use them. I feel bad for them. But I got so fucked up from trying to learn all those songs. My beard, like I got alopecia in my beard. It just like
Jesus.
fucking started falling out in patches.
Dude, 500 songs is like so much. Like that's unimaginable. But 50 songs, that is a fuck ton of songs.
It's a lot of songs.
Most people don't know 50 songs.
But here's the thing. I've never learned a song on the drums. I'm a terrible drummer. I bought a couple of drum kits because I was like, this is going to be my year, you know? But it's the hardest instrument to play, man. It's fucking impossible for me to play the drums well.
I feel the same about guitars.
Look,
Can't do it.
Keith Richards said it best. We all know this. All it takes to play guitar is 3 strings, 2 fingers, and 1 asshole. But drums, that's a finesse. That's all limbs. All limbs go. But what you realize when you're once you learn enough songs is there are half a dozen chord change patterns in popular music, right? And you almost, especially with the new country stuff, the pop country stuff, you can smell them coming.
Oh, dude, yeah. It's like drag right and place. There's the new song.
Yeah. This guy Brian Nutter, who played for one of the, Keith Urban, he sat in with us at a casino one night, and then I've become like flash forward a bunch of years. He came on the podcast and we become buddies. But back then, there were songs that came up on the list, and he was like, "What's this song?" And I just say, "That's in the key fucking C, okay." And he played it first time he heard it better than I did. Like he just knew it, which is crazy. It's just crazy to me. There are people
that's bonkers. That's bonkers. Like, because I guess that's like music theory at its finest, right?
I guess so, or just savant level. I'm not that kind of, I'm a fucking, I'm a hammer, really. In the toolbox, if the band is a toolbox, I'm the mallet,
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way. I feel like I'm definitely like the mallet for sure. Like,
I'm not.
Well, we'll just fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? Like,
God,
that'll fit.
You know what I wanted to ask you is that
What's that?
you made some records with Dave Fridman.
Yes.
I've been a big fan of his. I never met him. I couldn't even pick him out of a lineup. But there are a bunch of producers that I feel the same way about. And I love the way his records sound. And what was it like working with him and this isolated drumming performance? Because he's got very stylized drum sounds. It's one of his trademarks.
Yeah.
Was that with him?
No. The Isolated was with this with Sal Villanueva and Tim Gillis on on the record that went number 7. That's the record that was Isolated.
Wow.
Which was a whole different story. But with Dave is an amazing human being. He shows up to the studio and takes his shoes off as soon as he gets in, and he's always wearing zany socks. And he just sits down at the board. He's very calm, and there's no one else in the studio besides the band and him. He's the everything.
No engineer, no assistant,
nope.
Is that part of his sort of plan for vibe?
He's recording it. I don't know. It's just what he does, and he's amazing at it. Obviously, his career, shows that. But it's an experience where you're in the middle of the woods in Fredonia, New York. You're in a cabin. There's not a whole lot around. You sleep there, in these single beds, which is cool. It's no big deal, but. So the way he works is 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So you're in for 2 weeks, then you go home. And then he does another session in that 2 weeks of another band. So he's like fresh every time you come in, like,
wow.
And he records everything to mix, so he kind of is mixing a little bit here and there while he's recording. So he's like next level. That's
crazy. So this studio with the summer camp beds and all that, the cabin vibes, this is his studio?
It's his studio, yeah.
Where is it?
It's in Fredonia.
Where is that?
It's just outside of I guess it's Albany. Okay. Buffalo, just outside of Buffalo.
Okay. Way up.
Yeah, right by the SUNY. Yeah, there's a SUNY Fredonia there.
People call this upstate. I'm like right by Hudson. I live, 10 minutes from Hudson. People say, "Oh, upstate." I'm like, this is the Hudson Valley. This isn't upstate. Upstate is like on the other side of Albany.
Right. Yeah, totally. But yeah, it's wild up there, man. It's. I mean, we bought BB guns and we were shooting pumpkins, and beer cans, and all the thing when it was nice out when we were there in like the nice weather, we would play badminton outside. It
Right.
was like it's just what you do.
So how long did it in the schedule of 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off? How long did it take to make a record with him?
Um, we always showed up pretty prepared. There wasn't a lot of changing of things once we got up there, so um, I would obviously track, uh, basically as many as I could do in a day.
Yeah.
Until I got the right stuff. So I believe the band would be in there for altogether probably about a month. If you add the 2 weeks,
Right.
each 2 weeks up, it was about a month. But yeah, we did 3 records with him, 3 or 4, 3 records with Dave.
And it was always it was like spring or summer up there. Winters are fucked. Uh-oh,
Yeah.
you froze.
We were there for a few winter times, and it's gnarly. But it's like, being as upstate as you kind of are, people know how to deal with winter up there. It's like,
Yeah.
you get a foot of snow here, everyone's like, oh my god. You get a foot of snow up there, it's like, it's a dusting.
Right.
Ride your bike.
No, for real. What? We're out here on the skate ramp.
Yeah, exactly.
We got the snowblower on the
Pool's
skate
about
ramp.
to be open. Yeah.
Well, now that you're sort of like, I don't know if we're staring down, if we're looking at the home stretch of this stuff or not. Like this year, to me, I mean, everyone's talking about the next shutdown, and in some places, is there shelter in place in LA right now?
I believe there is, yeah.
Seattle is close to another shutdown. It doesn't feel necessarily like we are in the home stretch. It feels like we're back in May again.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your plan for fucking holding on to sanity and staying creatively busy? And what do you think the other side of all this shit looks like?
Well, fortunately for me, having the baby is a full-time job. My wife is working from home, but her job is pretty demanding, so she's constantly on Zoom. So she's, I'm with the baby from pretty much 8:30 in the morning till about 7 at night. So I'm pretty busy. And then now that I've gotten, since we bought the house and I have the drum room, it's like as soon as I hand off the baby, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go outside for like 2 hours. So I go and I play, and then I come in and then it's dinner. So now that I got the recording equipment, I'm gonna wormhole down that in my evenings, and so I kind of have a plan that I'm okay to squirrel away my winter in that. But I'm nervous because, and I'm sure people have said this to you, like, well, just get a different job. You should just go get a different job, switch careers. It's like, no,
Right.
well, I've been working in my entire life
Right.
to be doing what I'm doing. And this is like what I'm good at and what I love. And like, I'm not just going to fucking give up. And plus I can't just give up because I've been doing it so long that like, if I go get a job, that means we need to buy, we need to get healthcare, or childcare, sorry, and hiring a nanny or something is not cheap. So why am I going to give my child to somebody else when I can raise her?
Right.
So it's like, no, I'm not going to get another fucking job, but I will if I have to. I'm not above it. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hoping that 2021 is a boom for touring and all these. Not only is it people that play guitar and play drums in bands, it's
Dude, crew.
people that the roadies. It's Broadway. It's all the arts. You know what I mean? It's a very important. Like somebody said it best. It's like, man, give the arts some money. Like when you were in this pandemic and you were bored out of your mind, you turned to fucking Netflix. You turned to these things. You turn to the arts to entertain
Right.
you. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking important. So I'm just hoping that we have a boom that comes back, because I know so many people, which I'm sure you do as well, that just need it, so it's.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see the financial stuff, keeping on like it was for a while. My wife had a couple of months of work that she was able to do. She's a makeup artist and works in the beauty industry, works on, it's half of New York, right? But yeah, man, if there's another shutdown, like, those things are over. They get tested, every day. I think twice a day they get tested.
It's crazy.
Coming and going.
Yeah. Dude, it's very nerve-wracking, because I mean, like, and I think it's not all about the money for me either. Of course I need the money, we all need the money, but like I also just really enjoy doing what I do, and that's why I really like doing these covers with people and kind of doing the Indie Drummer Collective thing, because it's like, I enjoy the challenge of making music, no matter if it's already been made, and I'm just adding to it or whatever, I miss that. I miss being on stage, because I am a fucking musician. I am an artist. Like, I also need the accolades. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you also need to play.
Yeah.
You need to play, and you need to, even if you're not physically in front of someone, you need to see yourself represented in front of people. That's part of what keeps your mental health afloat. I mean, for me,
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I never understood how people, I have a straight day job that I do now. I do it at night for this month. It fucking sucks, but because I just found out last week when I started doing it, I can't listen to podcasts or music, or I can't have headphones at all. Last year I could, and it's just brutal. It's a brutal shift, but big fucking deal. It's not the worst thing in the world. People have it much worse.
Absolutely.
But there are so many people in the world who I don't know what their source of joy is. I don't know where their fucking life pool, where do you drink from? For me, it's always been music, even when I was fucking angry at it for a host of reasons. If I had a day job, I always afterwards, played music. And how the fuck do you think that there are people who just have a job and then that's good enough for them? They go home and they watch the game or whatever. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
What are they doing? What's the fucking secret? I need to know it.
On the other side of the coin, though, that makes us the lucky ones. You know what I mean? Like,
sure. No, I mean, I feel fortunate to have found. I mean, music probably saved my life. I was definitely on a road. Not that music led me completely away from the destruction, but probably drew me in pretty closer than I ever would have come, or at a faster pace. But it also gave you a reason to not dive completely in, right?
Yeah. It's tried to kill us many times, but it's also kept us alive.
That's it, man. So, do you guys have anything? I mean, everyone is booking stuff, and then they're like, all right, well, we rescheduled it. It was February, now it's August, now it's December 21, 22. I've seen dates for 20. I saw it yesterday, something dated for 2024, and I was like, what the fuck? You're really trying to get a solid date, I guess.
I honestly, like, it's so hard to say right now. I feel like a lot of people are just putting stuff on the schedule just so it gets canceled, just so they can say, like, hey, this is on the schedule, so
right.
I give me my unemployment. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I know that we kind of announced that we're doing something next year, but it's just wishful thinking. And I think that not only gives us hope as the people playing the music, but it also gives people that enjoy the music, like, well, maybe it's going to be back to normal. maybe it's something to get excited about.
What about new material? Is that off the table?
I mean, nothing's off the table. It's just, it's so hard to write music when you're not in a room together. Just
Sure.
especially for Thursday. It's like we always, got everything from being in a room together. If people would come in with riffs, and that's when it came alive. It wasn't something that we could do from afar. So
right.
it's hard. It's tough to tell.
And no talk of doing tests and trying to get into a room or in a large room where you've got social distancing for. Is it just a vibe killer and more trouble?
Even if there was, it all got ruined by Thanksgiving. Even if any plan that I had with anybody, even if it was writing music with one of the other bands that I play in, it was like, well, now that Thanksgiving is fucking supposed to be a surge, it's like no one's safe. It's
right.
It's like they said on the news today that if you traveled during Thanksgiving, you probably have COVID.
That's insane.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, that to me is just like, well, now we can't do anything.
I have a buddy who's down in Costa Rica right now. He flew down from San Francisco, $260 round trip. Like Jesus. They're basically begging you. They're just, the temptation is there because you're like, fuck, it's almost cheaper for me to go on vacation than it is to stick around.
Absolutely. And now living where we live, it's like starting to get cold and rainy and shitty. It's like, oh, well, Costa Rica for $260 does not sound bad.
Sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can catch me getting on a fucking plane right now.
Oh, fuck no.
I know people who've done a bunch of flying. I'm pretty certain I had this shit already, though. I think I did.
I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure I did as well. Because I very, knock on wood, I very rarely get sick. And in December, I was so fucking sick for probably 4 days, like sicker than I've ever been. Like I was zapped.
It can't, this breathing thing, like I'm not having a hard time breathing, but it's not like it was a year ago. And it can't just be that I'm fat. Could be part of that. Some of that could be my COVID-19. They say, I've heard it called the COVID-19 pounds. I've heard that's pretty funny to me. I'm about to buy one of them Peloton bikes.
I you know what, dude? I had a flywheel bike that we bought maybe 4 years ago. It was the cheaper version of Peloton. It was like only $1,500. And in March, when we moved into the house, I set up the bike and I went to get on it and I turned it on. It was like, oh, no classes are available. You're offline. I was like, what the fuck? So we called, and apparently Flywheel got bought out by Peloton. So we called Peloton. They just sent us a free bike.
Really?
Yeah, because they got bought by Flywheel got bought. So I actually acquired a Peloton, and it's actually a real ass kicking workout. It saved my life a few times on this.
That's amazing. Do you have to pay for maybe they'll hear this and they'll give me a bike and they'll advertise. Do you have to pay a monthly subscription for the classes, or just do you get access by nature of owning the bike?
No, you have to pay, but it's not very much. I think it's like maybe $50 for the family,
A month?
So yeah, a month.
Yeah.
So it's really not that bad, and they give you a shit ton of classes, like not only cycling classes, but like yoga classes and running and everything you can think of. But the best thing is, it's like all these pre-recorded classes that they have. You don't have to get on at a certain time.
Right.
You can go in right now and just hit a pre-recorded class. I did the 20-minute workouts. It's like over before it starts. It's amazing.
Right. It's the equivalent of going on like an hour-long bike on a road bike, right?
Yeah. Dude, before 10 a.m. this morning, I did 6 miles and burned 200 calories. I don't know what that fucking means, but it seems like a lot to me.
It means you got your sweat on. But here's my question, because I looked at it and I think that they're cheaper now than they were even a year ago. Because I think they're like $1,800 or $1,900 for the Peloton bike.
Yeah.
And then you can finance it so that it's like $50 or $60 a month. But now I see that it's $50 or $60 a month for the bike, and then you have to pay for the classes. So really, it's $100 a month.
Pretty much, yeah.
Really, they should just advertise and give me a bike. Peloton for your life.
Exactly.
I just wrote them a new thing. What is that called?
Go.
The tagline.
The tagline.
That's
Peloton.
worth something for your life.
And that can be shown right here tomorrow.
Yeah. For your life.
No, but if here's the thing about the Peloton, it's fucking great, and it's an ass kicker, and I hate it every day, but I enjoy doing it. I feel better when I'm off. But it can very quickly turn into a coat hanger if you're not careful.
Right.
Where it just sits in the corner and you just throw your dirty clothes
Sweaty.
on it.
Yeah, of course. Is it out in the drum room?
No, it's actually in my wife's closet, which is the spare bedroom in the house is now her closet.
Right.
And I wanted to put it in the basement, but the basement's got low ceilings, and there was a mouse in there the other day, and I had to have like a exterminator come in.
His legs can't reach the pedals. You don't have to worry about him logging into your account, man.
I'm like, he's not going to steal your classes. Don't worry. But so my dream of having the bike in the basement has been shattered by a little mouse on a motorcycle. So,
did you bring a bicycle on tour with you ever? I used to do that. I loved it.
No, I wanted to, but I feel like I always flew to meet the bus.
Right.
And I just felt like I couldn't fly with the bike was the last thing that I could think about flying with. And I putting the bike in storage with the gear was never a good idea for me either. For some reason, I always thought it was going to get stolen. Not like I wasn't afraid the gear was going to get stolen. If I only knew now what I didn't know then, I don't know. I think that's how it goes.
Well, in true Couchers fashion, we touched on a lot of really random shit, which is as a trademark over here, Couch Riff's headquarters.
I'm into it. I enjoyed every single minute of it.
No, I love it too. I love talking to people. You may have noticed I have a slow style.